Hi everyone. Uh, Welcome to orientation session of advanced case study, right? Orientation session of advanced case study. It is an exam of ICAEW. Okay. It is an exam of ICAEW, that's Institute of Chartered Accountancy of England and Wales. Okay. Institute of Chartered Accountancy of England and Wales. And this is an orientation session. So let's just begin with that what exactly this paper is, what exactly this paper requires, and how you can pass. The objective of today's class is to discuss what is this ACS, right? First, we're gonna be discussing that what is ACS, okay, and how an student can pass this, okay, how an student can pass this. What's the pass ratio of it? Pass ratio. So these all are the objectives of today's class, right? These all are the objectives of today's class that we have to do. And then from the next class, we're going to be starting our syllabus, okay? And from the next class, we're going to be starting our syllabus. So now let's just discuss what is ACS, that advanced case study, and how terrorful this paper is, right? How terrorful this paper is. If you believe me, if I give you an example, this paper is very easy paper, I will say, right? It's not a difficult one. Like if I give you a brief idea that what is going to be tested in this paper, so it's very simple. It's a predictable paper. That the paper I would write here, the thing I would write here is that it is a predictable paper. You always know that what exactly you gonna be tested for, what exactly we are going to be tested. This is that paper, right? If I discuss on the questions, what are the questions they're gonna be asking, right? If I discuss on the questions, that what exactly the questions they are going to ask, what exactly the questions they are going to ask. So in the first question, there is an always mandatorily there is a ratio analysis, or I would say the vertical analysis that we usually perform on the financials once we have received is being done. Preferably, they do that, right? So see, if you are from an ACCA background, if you are from an ICAEW background, if you are from any particular body, you know that you have done these sort of analysis in every paper, I will say, right? In every paper, these type of analysis are being done. For example, in ACCA, we have done this in F2, F3, F5, F7, F8. In fact, in audit, you also do that. F9, then we have SBR, then we have P7, then we have somewhere SBL. So see, this is a requirement, right? This is a requirement that's basically been done throughout your accounting journey. And similar to the other bodies, since I did at ICAEW after ACCA, so I remember that I've done these type of requirements from every particular paper. But if you are from ICMA, if you are from ICAEW, if you are from ICAP or any particular body, you have done this type of requirement. I'll show you the question paper also towards the end of this orientation session. I'll show you the question paper also, the last attempt that we just had, the Fulsome Digital Marketing, right? So ratio, vertical analysis, in a particular detail, what you're gonna be doing here in a particular detail, you need to analyze GP, you need to analyze net profit, you need to analyze revenue. Similarly, you need to analyze operating profit. Similarly, you need to analyze the other KPIs as well, the other KPIs as well, right? So this is the first question. Would you believe the last paper of a chartered accountancy The first question is this. And in fact, I guarantee you, when I'll let you know the questions, I guarantee you, when I'll let you know the questions, you're gonna be saying, sir, this was very easy. Why even you are teaching this paper? Now I'll count the difficulties later. First, I'll give you some brief idea, and then we'll discuss what exactly student lacks in this paper, right? What exactly student lacks in this paper. Now we have question 2. Now what's question 2, guys? Now we have question 2. In question 2, they basically they usually ask you to do evaluation. Okay, they usually ask you to do evaluation of different or several proposals, right? It's usually they ask you to evaluate the proposals, right? This is usually being asked, right? They'll give you some proposals in order to expand a product, in order to diversify, to get yourself diversification through going geographically diversified or product diversified. So they'll discuss a particular strategy, they'll discuss a particular project, might be acquisition, right? Might be a new product launch, there could be a new product launch also. So these type of questions, tested in this, right? There might be a particular demerger which can be discussed here, right? And this is a discussion paper. Just remember that you have to discuss, you have to write, and you have to do that, right? Question 2 is linked with question 1 results. Yeah, obviously you can give a particular linkage with this also, and then etc. Now what's the third question here, right? Now what's the third question here? The third question here, guys, is that you have to evaluation of a particular strategy, right? Valuation of a particular strategy. So see, in the first requirement, you are going to do the analysis of the ratios. In the second, you are going to analysis a proposal, and in the third, you are going to analysis a particular strategy. They could ask you, similar to the second question, right? Similar to the second question, they could ask you any particular strategy being given to you, and they could ask you to evaluate. Like you have to do a strategic what if analysis on that, right? You have to perform sensitivity on that. And again, this is not the calculation. This all needs a discussion, right? This all needs a discussion here. Similarly, ethics can be tested here. A lot of times ethics is in last question, right? But in the last attempt, I remember ethics was in the first question. So ethics can be severally aggregated in the different questions here, right? Now see, this is basically I would say a questioning part, that how this paper can be tested, right? This is basically a questioning part, that how this paper can be tested. Now again, a question comes, so this paper seems to be an easy one. Now again, a question comes that, sir, this paper seems to be an easy one, that why exactly this paper seems to be an easy one, why exactly a student fails this exam, right? Why exactly a student fails this exam? If this is that much easy, then why this paper is being failed? Again, a valid question. But first, what I wanted here is that what is pass rate of ACS, right? At first, what I want to discuss is that what exactly is the pass rate of ACS, right? What exactly is the pass rate of ACS, and why that is important? And if you want, you can have a particular region's pass rate also, right? If you want, you can have a particular region's pass rate, that in that particular region, how many students passes this, right? So in last attempt, what I remember is it was around, in last attempt, I remember it was around 70%, right? The 70% students passes it. Now the thing is, sir, that how this paper has been passed so easily. See, the requirements are quite easy. So if anyone have a good grip on the case study, right? These requirements are based on a case study which is available to you guys the 40 days before exam. So if you have a good grip on case study, you can easily pass this paper. If you have a good grip on case study, then you can easily pass this paper, right? Now see, we discussed ACS, right? A strategical paper, I will say, a strategical which tests different skills, different strategies being given, right? Pass ratio, we discussed it. Now, how an student can pass this, right? How an student, I've seen many students got flunked in SBM, but they have cleared the ACS first time, because this is a project. Basically, you have to deal with it. This is a project. This is, if you guys are from ECCA, if you have attempted SBL, so SBL was a minor version of ACS, right? SBL was a minor version of ACS. This paper is I would say a daddy version of SBL exam, right? Now, how a student can pass this? Before describing the pass strategy, I want you to guys to understand that how ACS is being given to you. How exactly ACS is being given to you. See, the 40 days before exam, okay, 40 days before exam, you will be given a case study. A case study will be available to your ICAEW portal, right? 40 days before exam, you guys will be given a case study in the ICAEW portal. They might email you. This is the last attempts case study. I wanted to show you guys that, right? The material is issued prior to the exam session, and you may bring this material with you in the exam center, okay? See, fulsome digital marketing, okay? And then these are the list of exhibits. See how many exhibits they have been giving to you, how many exhibits they are giving to you. They are giving you approximately 14 exhibits, right? And in fact, in these exhibits there are parts particularly, right? In these exhibits there are parts particularly. So this 14E till 14E, you guys will have till 14E, you guys will have this thing before your exam. In fact, 40 days before your exam, okay? In fact, 40 days before your exam, okay? So you'll be given a case study. Now, what you guys have to do, make a summarized version of it. See, if a student is having a complete case study like this, see, it's in front of me, a complete case study like this. So the problem here is he or she cannot do the effective analysis. So you guys have to make a summarized version of it, right? I provide that too also while exam. If you guys are enrolled in my session, I'll provide the summary version. But the bestest thing is that you make that by yourself. In fact, what I used to do is, I basically do these type of summaries on the case study on top, right? So that if I open a case study, I know the main pointers of this page. I use the highlighters. I used to do these things, right? And in fact, I would say read the case study that has been sent to you by approx 10 to 15 times, right? Now, why is that? Because the requirements are going to be from in that case study. Because the requirements are from, the requirements will be given to you from that case study. And for that case study, what is the problem that you have to remember, that this particular requirement is being tested from that page, right? This particular requirement is being tested from that particular page. So these are what exactly the things you have to do, that you make a summarized version of case study being given to you. In fact, your tutor also provides that 10 to 15 times you have to write a particular, or I would say read a particular case study. Okay, and the last one is mocks. See what exactly happens now. What exactly happens in this paper is that you got a case study. Now multiple providers ask you to solve the mocks, right? If you guys haven't solved mock in the exam time and condition, there is no way that you can easily pass this. You have to solve the mocks that are dependent on this case study that have been sent to you. So what exactly my batch gonna be offering you, is that I will give you a summarized version. Okay, I will give you a summarized version of the case study. Okay, but the mocks that needs to be purchased, right? And I'll let you know from whom you guys have to purchase the mock, because there are multiple providers. So you need to be purchasing. In fact, I'll give you a batch, 2 or 3 students, and then you guys can purchase that. The thing is that these mocks needs to be practiced. So if I've practiced the previous mocks, so do I have to purchase the current ones? Yeah, I would suggest you to purchase the current mocks and then perform those and then get it checked by me. The reason is then only I can say that whether you exactly knew the strategy that how to pass this paper. Okay, that how to pass this paper. Let me see the chat box if there are particular questions, so I could have answered that. The students taking the class live, they can text me on either chat box or either WhatsApp. The students, those who are taking the recording of this session, they can just text me on WhatsApp, right? Yeah. So again, the frequent question that has been asked by many students, that's if this is a predictable paper, if this is a if you always provide a summarized version, if we can perform mocks, that why exactly this paper gets failed. Okay, why this paper gets failed? If the requirements are too easy, if the analysis are too easy, then why this paper gets failed? So see, the reason is that student doesn't meet the benchmark that has been set by examiner. So what do you mean by benchmark? Huh? So what exactly do you mean by benchmark? Yes, there is a criteria, right? Yes, there is a criteria set by examiner that if your answer, there is a criteria set by examiner that if your answer met that certain criteria, then only you can pass this paper. So how is this possible? How exactly this can happen? Huh? How exactly this can happen? Yeah, there is a criteria mentioned by examiner on every answer scheme, right? On every answer scheme. And if your answer met this criteria, if your answer met this criteria, that you can easily pass this paper. And if your answer didn't met the criteria, then you are not going to pass this paper. Now, examiner uses a term here, right? Examiner uses a term here. And what's that? Examiner uses a term, boxes, that you have to meet these boxes, right? You have to meet these boxes. Sir, can you show us an example? We are not getting exactly what you are trying to suggest. So can you show us the example? Yeah, just give me a second and I'll show you another example. Yeah. So we were discussing the criteria, that what exactly is required to pass this exam. This is auto set, right? This has been set by the examiner. Just like, for example, this is the advance information that you receive on 40 days before exam. Okay, this is the advance information. And then what exactly we have on the exam day, we have basically questions, right? This is how the question appears. It's of 4 hours. This is a case study, and you can automatically get the case study being done here, right? These were the exhibits that were being given to you. These were the exhibits, these were given to you, right? And these are the new exhibits that are given to you on exam date. These are the new exhibits that are given to you on exam date. Okay, and these are the requirements. See, mention here the 3 requirements. I told you there will be 3 requirements. The first, this is the real exam, right? Last attempts exam, November 2023 attempts exam. Okay, so this was revenue, cost, this, and operating profit, and then an evaluation of request from bowl. I told you there will be an evaluation, right? And there will be an evaluation of results of target over next 3 years. So they are getting you to do the forecast operating profits, right? This is they're asking you to perform that, right? They are asking you to perform that. They would ask you to calculate the numbers also. And in first requirement, there's a good marks for calculation also, right? And in first requirement, these are the good marks for calculation also. And this is how the requirement will come. Then there will be other exhibits, and the problem here, that the criteria, sir, how we are going to know the criteria? Just see here, right? How we are going to know the criteria? This has been auto set by, this criteria has been auto set by examiner. I can give you this example, right? I can give you this example. See what exactly. Yeah, the marks, I will let you know about the marks, don't worry. The thing is that in this question, see what exactly you have to do. I'll mark this. What exactly you have to do while attempting. If you're attempting a requirement 1, see, if you're attempting a requirement 1, you will first do the annexure. Okay, the first thing will be annexure, which will require you to perform calculations. Okay, then there will be first there will be annexures, yeah, and then there will be executive summary, right, of the requirement, and then there will be requirement that you have attempted. Okay, requirement analysis that you have attempted. Okay, then there will be conclusion and recommendations. Okay, then there will be conclusions and recommendations. Now same thing goes for requirement 2 also. Now the problem with requirement 2 and requirement 3 is you don't have the exact pattern. Okay, you don't have the exact pattern that how exactly these annexures needs to be calculated, right? Because these are the calculations they'll ask you to perform. Just like in the previous question, they have asked you, to perform a growth strategy and forecast profits. So the forecast profits is a problem. You exactly need to plot these things, right? And the problem here is that a lot of students gets time being wasted by these calculations, right? A lot of students gets time being invested by these calculations, which is a problem, okay? So requirement 2 is this, and then we have requirement 3, and in requirement 3 again, we have the same things. So see, if you see how the requirements are attempted, they need to be attempted in a simple criteria that every requirement should have an annexure calculation, then every requirement should have an executive summary, then every requirement needs to be analysis being done on the requirements mentioned, and then conclusions and recommendations. This is how a question needs to be attempted. Now come back to the criteria that was set by the examiner. For suppose, while drafting executive summary, what you guys have to do now, see the thing is which I'm telling you, which I wanted to tell you, is that each and every requirements executive summary that you have written needs to be consolidated. So what are you telling that? See here that we have the requirements here. Now once you have drafted the executive summary, you have to consolidate it, my guys. You have to consolidate it, these executive summary of requirement 1. Similarly, executive summary requirement 2, executive summary requirement 3. So these all needs to be written here. Okay. These all 3 requirements needs to be written in an executive summary. They all needs to be consolidated at first, right? They all needs to be consolidated at first, and then there should be the requirements that you have attempted, right? There should be the requirements that you have attempted. And then your paper gets end. Now, so why you initially mentioned the executive summary here? Why? It's basically while attempting the requirement, it's suggested to make the executive summary. If you haven't made the executive summary while attempting the requirement, then see, once you have done the question 3, you might have not a lot of time, and then you are not able to make the executive summary, and then that executive summary's criteria is not met, and even in fact you have attempted the paper greatly, but still you're gonna be failed, because the summary, it's a criteria being set by the examiner. Now come to the question again, that sir, do we have to make these summaries? Yeah, you have to do that. Now one of the student has asked, sir, is there marks allocation between the requirements? Yet again, there are the marks allocation between the requirements, right? There are the marks allocation between the requirements, but again they are not being given in the exam. Okay, but again they are not being given in the exam. So what you have to do, you have to write as per the maximum points, and make sure that you complete your exams, okay? Now I was telling about the criteria. Okay, I was telling about the criteria. See, yes, then it needs to be integrated. The executive summary needs to be integrated. Now see here, the first criteria of executive summary, what the criteria I was saying, and it's predetermined but not being told to you, that you have to think on the points. Like in this question, what examiner has expected that a student would have used a firm, right, headings, they would have used that, right? This was the criteria. Similarly, the wordings needs to be formal and tactful and ethical. This is the criteria being set. If you have suggested a particular thing that's unethical, then this criteria is not met. Then again, the executive summary of requirement 1, page 1 of requirement 1 is that first you'll discuss about overall revenue, right, with figures, and reason needs to be mentioned. So they have told you that in executive summary you have to do that. Similarly, GP percent, OP percent, you're gonna be discussing that with figures. Churn rate needs to be discussed. Churn is basically client being changed, right? Disclaimer, I'll show you the executive summary, don't worry. I'll show you about the executive summary, don't worry there, right? Then concludes on reason. So this is a criteria for executive summary requirement 1. This is the criteria for executive summary requirement 1, okay? Then executive summary requirement 2, client mix, address staff attrition, ensure junior staff happy, monitor non-billable time, address client churn, appropriate summary for report section. Then what you have to do? You have to discuss these methods. Now again, these all factors are given in the case study and the question paper, but again, how you would prioritize what to discuss? Concludes on risk versus trade-off, potential conflict with the client, contract will help achieve FDM target, right? Concludes on way forward, negotiation, consider capacity and requirement, appropriate summary. Then in requirement 3, qualitative comment, optimistic of staff attrition, staff impact, interest on sales of shares. Concludes. Now see, these all are the criteria of executive summary. And if you have missed, now what I would suggest, that you have to tick box each and every boxes, like you have covered the maximum points from each and every boxes. Let's say you have covered this point and this point, so automatically this box is ticked. If you have covered this point and this point, then automatically this box is ticked. Similarly, you have covered only 1 point here and 2 points here, these boxes are ticked. So you have to make sure that you are ticking each and every box by the comments that examiner would have thought that you would make. So we could have made the other comments as well. They're not going to award you the mark. They have simply stated that you have to write what should have been written. Now coming back to the requirement 1. In requirement 1, we have that you have to compare the targets, right? Then you have analysis of clients. You have to do that. Analysis of staff numbers. This should be your appendix. If you haven't met this appendix, or if you haven't covered these ratios, 0 marks for this box. 0 marks for this box. Similarly, you have to make a comment on overall revenue. Similarly, you have to make a comment on overall client size revenue, overall GP, overall percentage, overall OP, overall percentage. If you did that, this box is ticked and you're gonna be passed. Then you have to consider business and wider issues. Okay, then you have to consider business and wider issues. Apologies. Just a second. Yeah. Now, what's that? That you have to mention about growth in online sales. You have to mention about sector averages. You have to mention about these growths. You have to mention about the competitor analysis. Now, I'm not saying that mention each and every point, but in order to pass this paper, you have to make sure that you are touching maximum points, right? That you are touching maximum points. Right? Then you have to mention this point. You have to mention this point, these points, and then this box will be ticked. So similarly, for every requirement, guys, for every requirement, you have to make sure that you are ticking these boxes. No, these boxes are not going to be mentioned in front of you guys. It's your thought process. Now, why I say that this paper is predictable, because all the time, some of the boxes remain same. Like NXJ, it's always the same. Similarly, comments on revenue GP, the boxes that I have been ticking with pink, remember, they are always to be ticked. They can easily be ticked, right? Similarly, the boxes that I am ticking here, that the para of conclusion and recommendation, these are always ticked. You can easily predict that. Now, the problem is that these boxes that have been highlighted by yellow, you have to make sure that you are making these boxes tick by communicating these points. Like if you are doing the GP analysis, then you have to mention due to more new clients. If you are mentioning GP and OP analysis, then you have to mention that there is an effect because of low margin, charge out rate. Similarly, charge in COS appears to be only 4%. Comment on staff numbers. So you have to make sure you make these points right. The boxes with the pink tick are easy and always been predicted and always been written. Right? These 6 boxes, you have to make sure you are talking on that. You have to make sure you are talking on that. Similar with the requirement 2. The boxes with the pink tick, they're easy. You always make the appendix, right? You always make the appendix. Similarly, you always calculate these ratios, these type of ratios if there's a question, right? Similarly, you'll discuss the wider context and business issues. These are the easy points. Similarly, conclusions and recommendations are always made. The problem is with these 6 boxes, guys. With these 6 boxes, you have to make sure that you are writing and your points are ticking these. Now, what exactly examiner has done, he have made the 12 boxes in which 6 are easy, and you always do that. You always do the calculations. You always comment on the overall summary. You always comment on business issues. You always comment on conclusions and recommendations. These 5 boxes are always done. The problem is with the middle 6 boxes, right? The problem is with the middle 6 boxes that you have to tick that for every requirement. Similarly, your executive summary should be a consolidated summary and needs to be at consolidated. Now, one of the student asked that, if I've missed the executive summary, one student have asked that if I missed making executive summary, so sir, what I'll do? You'll fail. The thing is that executive summary has several boxes, and if you have missed that, that means all these boxes are crossed, and for passing, you need half of the boxes to be ticked with good points. You need half of the boxes to be ticked with good points. Now, I am clear? Just tell me on the chat box that are you guys getting my point? Great. Now, my preference is that whenever we are attempting a requirement, I'll make the executive summary, okay? Then again, requirement 2, I'll make the executive summary. Then again, requirement 3, I'll make the executive summary. And all these summaries will be copy pasted on the top. That's it. All these summaries, yeah, and we have to delete it from the requirements. Yeah. We have to delete it. Therefore, I removed it from here, guys. Therefore, I removed it from here. So this is advanced case study. This is how you are going to attempt it, right? This is how you are going to attempt it, right? I believe that I am being clear to you while explaining this paper to you, because this paper needs a lot of explanation, right? Now, I'm basically how I am going to offer this paper, right? What I am going to do. My name is basically Abdul Basit. So what SAB offers in this course, right? What I offers in this course, or what MHA offers in this course, okay? So the thing is that the pattern to pass this paper is simple. The pattern to pass this paper is very simple. First, we'll take case study, November 2023, okay? I'll take this case study. I'll explain the complete case study, right? I'll explain the complete case study. Then I'll give you my notes, okay? Then I'll give you my notes, okay? Then or summary notes of this case study, okay? My notes and summary notes of case study, okay? If I've done that, then we're gonna be doing 3 mocks: mocks 1, mocks 2, mock 3. Similarly, now if we have done that and you haven't got the case, so I assume that we are doing this before the case of the recent attempt to be published, right? Then we'll go on to the July 2023, okay? Again, same, these things will be done, and so forth and so on. How many attempts we have, we're gonna be doing that, right? The many attempts that we have, we're gonna be doing that. As many as attempts we have, we're gonna be doing that. After that, what's gonna happen? After that, what's gonna happen? After attempting these paper, right? If you have attempting these mocks with me, after attempting these papers, what's gonna be happening now? You guys would have got the strategy. If you have attempted these 6 papers with me, let's say, in fact, I'll solve more if we have time. If we have attempted these 6 papers, or make it 7, right? Make it 7, the exam also. We have the exam being published also, no? So we'll do that also, make it 8. So if we have these 8 papers being solved, you'll know the strategy. You guys are the finalist of chartered accountancy, right? You know, now you guys would automatically adapt the strategy that I have made, okay? You guys would automatically adapt the strategy that I've made, or how the boxes needs to be ticked. If you have got the strategy, then what will happen? The advance information day will arrive, okay? The advance information day will arrive. Then first thing will be to make the short version of advance information. I'll do that for you. And then we will buy mocks, okay? These are not included in these classes. These mocks you'll buy from an independent source, and then you're gonna be attempt that with strategy. Attempt that with strategy being suggested by me, and then I'll give you my review mark, and I'll assess whether these boxes are ticked or not. And then I'll assess that whether these boxes are being ticked or not. So guys, this is the exam. This is the simple pattern of the exam. Now, sir, would you don't be explaining the ratios, that what is gross profit, what is a net profit, sir, what is that strategy, what is those? Guys, you guys are the chartered accountants, right? You guys are the in the one of the last paper of getting a chartered accountants. You don't need an explanation. You guys are the corporate world people, right? You in fact know these type of ratios more than me, but you don't know the technique to pass this paper, which I'll be teaching you while attempting these mocks. In fact, I remember, guys, many students don't even know about the executive summaries, and they got to realize that in an exam that they have to do that. If they got a fail mark, they go on to the exam reviewer, and then they've been told that you haven't attempted the executive summary, therefore you got failed. The last thing here is that, which I'll write in a big boxes, you have to complete exam. If any particular requirement being left, automatically our student will go fail. If any particular requirement being left, then there's a lot of chances that a student is not going to pass. The reason is the boxes remain unticked. The boxes remain unticked. The time allocation, see, I cannot give you the time allocation by requirement, right? What I suggest to you is try to avoid wasting time on annexures. See, if you have made annexures, you cannot exactly make the right numbers, right? The pattern is that the last year's data, the pattern is the last in the requirement one, right? Last year's data is in advanced case study, right? The case study being sent to you. Current year data is an exam. So you have to calculate percentages, KPIs, any tailor-made ratios. So a lot of students do these type of analysis or these type of numbers. A lot of students do these type of analysis and these type of numbers and give a lot of time. The problem is that annexure carries only one box. In 3 requirements, 3 boxes. And if you have wasted a lot of time, you just scored 3 boxes and the other boxes being wiped off. And if the other boxes are not being touched, there is a problem, guys. If the other boxes are not being touched, then there is a problem. So guys, hopefully I'm being clear. Hopefully I'm being clear that what exactly needs to be done this paper. Now, a lot of students asked, that's which should be the pattern? What should be the pattern to attempt this paper? See, this paper cannot be attempted without the ICAEW's contract, right? You should be in the last year of contract. So ideally, you should attempt first SPM, then CR, and then case study. This is the ideal thing. But again, case study is a easy but a technical one. Okay, it's but a technical one. Okay, Now, a bit of knowledge about your facilitator. My name is Abdul Basit. Okay, I'm an ACA as well as ACCA as well as BSc, right? You guys can have access to my social media platforms. I've mentioned there. My WhatsApp number is +92 331 2623 849, and you guys can text me whenever there's a question pertaining to that. And if you guys have any query, you guys can ask, right? So far, this was the orientation session. For enrollment, you guys can ask on my WhatsApp. And if there are any other particular queries, you guys can ask. We are going to start these classes from tomorrow, and from the next session we'll directly dive into the complete case study, and then we'll try to read these case study. And once this is done, we'll do my summary notes, and once summary note is done, then we'll do the first mock. And in that mock, we're going to be solve the complete case study, and I'll teach you how to write executive summary, how to comment on ratios. And similarly, in mock 2, I'll teach that. In mock 3, I'll teach that. And you'll have a strategy. So you'll go on to the other papers till we get the exam case study. And once we have got the exam case study, we'll start practicing that. Okay, we'll start practicing that. So hopefully I've clarified this exam in front of you. If there are any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Take care.